The free trade agreement is just about to swing into action, and of course, we're just weeks away from the Ashes. Joining me live is Australia-UK expert and former CEO of the Australian-British Chamber, David McCredie. David, it's very, very exciting in London at the moment. No city does it quite like London when it comes to big events.
No, that's right, Tim. The pomp and circumstance is what the Brits do best. I think we only have to think back a few months ago to see, a year ago to see the sights of the Jubilee, and then sadly last September the sights around the Queen's passing. To know that the UK does know how to throw a celebration, a commemoration in the case of the funeral, obviously, but today is going to be one of those days where would you rather be than somewhere in a village in the UK, watching the coronation, being there with your friends, your family, in the streets, and really celebrating what is a terrific national moment for the UK, but also has resonance, obviously, for us here and in the other realms, but across the Commonwealth more broadly as well. Obviously, countries some of the countries in the Commonwealth are republics, but all eyes will be on London and on that magical route between Buckingham Palace and Westminster Abbey, and scenes that we've never seen in our lifetimes, Tim, and it will be hopefully a number of years before we see again the coronation, all the pomp, circumstance, the robes, the crowns, the thrones, everything that you could imagine, the fairy tale moments that Britain does so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And time seems to repair everything, doesn't it? And when you look at the life of Prince, now King Charles, there's been plenty of drama, obviously, his first marriage, his family, but it looks like the country has embraced him very, very affectionately.
Yeah, look, I think we live in different times now than what we went through, and what the now King went through in the 80s and into the 90s, and the idea of second marriages, the idea of what the monarchy was, has really been changing during that period. And obviously, Charles has been talking about a slimmed down monarchy, and I know Princess Anne came out in the last week or so and saying, well, it can't be slimmed down too much. There's plenty of work that royals actually do, which is very useful and very important in the not just in the UK but across the Commonwealth. Indeed, full disclosure, I work on an advisory board of a Commonwealth charity where Princess Anne's the patron, and she does an enormous amount of work for us and for others that we see along that journey.
Yeah, continue.
Yes,
sorry.
the life has been a life probably no different than many others have experienced across the last 40 or 50 years as societal norms have changed.
We're seeing shots of our Prime Minister, and we're just about to talk about the free trade agreement, of course, which you had a lot to do with the preparation and the delivery of the free trade agreement. But what will it mean, do you think, between the relationship between the two countries now that King Charles is in? And he for a long time, he's been saying he wanted to make significant change in the monarchy and the way that the monarchy relates to the world around it.
Yeah, look, I'm much keener to talk about the free trade agreement, Tim, but the King has been very clear over a number of years, and indeed the emphasis on the line of succession has been more and more clarified, let's put it that way, over the last few years, with lots of photos of just those in the line of succession, particularly in the last few years of the Queen's reign. And clearly there is a move to make sure that we are as seeing that sort of cost of living, expenses, other dramas in the world. The royalty aren't immune to being castigated for their apparent lack of cutbacks. So they need to be making those sorts of changes to make it easier for people to relate to them in some ways.
OK, we can put the Crown to one side now, but you understand why I needed to come at you with those questions, because there's a reasonable event going on. Now, to the free trade agreement. Of course, this is going to have an enormous impact on particularly our country.
Yeah, look, it will have an enormous opportunity for Australian businesses and British businesses to come here too. It's going to be an enormous opportunity for us both to take forward into the next generation. And this is a perfect time for this sort of arrangement to come into force. We've obviously seen the recent Defence Strategic Review come out. We've seen the AUKUS announcement about where we're going in the future, for example, with nuclear submarines, but also those other technologies that we often talk about in Pillar 2 of the AUKUS strategy, things like hypersonics, indeed AI, cybersecurity and other things. There's huge amounts of technology and that will be developed and are continuing to be developed at this point in time. And one of the key elements of that, or the two main elements that will make that much, much easier to go forward, is the movement of people between the two countries so that experts, industry experts can travel freely between each country and help to develop those pieces of technology. After all, it's really brain power that's going to drive AUKUS in these new technologies. But also the investment that then flows with that. And keep in mind that the UK has been the second largest investor in Australia for an enormous number of years, only second since the US took over back in the 1960s or 70s. And so it's been a long time that the UK have been investing here, obviously, since 1788 in one form or another. And the opportunities for more investment, particularly when you look at things outside of the defence sector, like the energy transition. We have no offshore wind farms currently built in Australia. The UK are a global expert at that. The opportunity to bring in that expertise, the knowledge, seeing companies like BP really leaning in with hydrogen hubs in places like Kwinana in Perth. That investment flow is going to be vitally important for Australia's energy transition. Octopus Investments, there are so many great British companies really looking to lean in and invest heavily here in Australia and help us to achieve what we want to achieve in our economy. And if I can get a beef sausage in the UK sometime in the not too distant future, Tim, I'll be very pleased, particularly if it's alongside an Ashes win.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm heading over there in a few weeks' time, so I'll be looking for one. It might be a little bit premature. I think I'll have to go with the pork sausage, which aren't too bad themselves. But just on the timing of everything, because it is quite appropriate that the World Health Organisation has come out and said, look, the end of the COVID emergency is now. And this gives the opportunity for this free trade agreement to have a real run at it.
Yeah, look, I think that's right. We've all lived through the last few years. It's terrific to think that we are now through that period, according to the World Health Organisation. But I think the reality is between Australia and the UK, we'd moved on from this some time ago. Yes, cases bubble up here and there over time, but as we've said the whole way along, Tim, in our conversations, we really need to get back to a sense of normality and really get back to driving that business opportunity between our two countries. There are an awful lot of friends and families who have been able to reunite over the last little while since we've finished the lockdown phases of the COVID response. So the world really is back, and the opportunity for us to really get stuck in with new business arrangements between Australia and the UK is really, really right now. At the end of this month, 31st of this month, the free trade agreement will be in force. The opportunity to get across to the UK. Look, London Tech Week's on in early June. If you're a tech company that wants to participate, get in touch with your state government trade agency. They're all taking delegations across to the tech forums in the UK. It's a terrific time to be involved.
Yep.
And it's just going to become easier and easier. Reduced friction around visas. 99% of goods will be able to trade between two countries with no tariffs. The opportunities are just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've done ourselves for time today, so come on next week and we will talk about one of our great loves, our collective loves, the game of cricket. You've been to a lot of it here and overseas. I've covered it, hosted Ashes series. I cannot wait for this one. So let's talk about that with Steve Smith padding up in the county championship. Of course, there's plenty to talk to there, and we'll get a bit of an idea of what happened at the coronation and where we are at with the free trade agreement. Let's do it next week.
Sounds good. Look forward to it, Tim.